Spiritual successors are becoming very important within the video game industry because you got a lot of these bigwigs at these companies that are like, oh, people don't care about these classic games, but I mean, we totally do. Games like Castlevania, of course, may have disappeared, but Bloodstained has brought back that classic gameplay that we've all been looking for. Another franchise that kids grew up with in the 90s and have a lot of love for is, of course, Crazy Taxi. It was a simple idea, an arcade game in which you played as a taxi driver trying to get people to their destination in the quickest way possible to earn money for a high score and additional time. When Taxi Chaos was announced for the Nintendo Switch, which we of course talked about in our February Nintendo Switch games video, I was definitely very interested in checking this game out. Taxi Chaos was kind enough to sponsor this video and let me check the game out before it releases on February 23rd for the PS4, Xbox One, and the Nintendo Switch. So today we're going to take a look at the Nintendo Switch version of the game and see what it has to offer. What's going on, guys? I'm RGT85. If this is your first time on the channel, welcome. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. But without any further ado, let's take a look at Taxi Chaos for the Nintendo Switch and see what this game is all about. So Taxi Chaos doesn't really try to go out there and reinvent the cab driving genre, which is something that people used to use in order to get around before Uber was a thing. There's your history lesson for the day, kiddies. In this game, you have two different characters to choose from, Vince and Cleo, but really it's just a purely aesthetic thing, as the main differences are within the cars in the game themselves. There are a total of 7 different taxis you can unlock, all with different attributes, such as some being faster than others, some having better braking than others, and so on. There's 3 modes of gameplay in Taxi Chaos. You got arcade mode, pro mode, and free roam. Arcade mode is where I spent most of my time with the game, and fans of Crazy Taxi will honestly feel right at home with this mode. You are placed in New Yellow City that looks and feels a little bit like another NYC, but I'm sure that's purely just a coincidence. In this mode, you are timed, and you have to pick up various passengers and bring them to a location within the time limit. The faster you are, the more risky your driving is, the higher fare and rating you get. A navigation arrow shows you which direction to go to, but of course, shortcuts are encouraged along the way to your destination. You'll do this until the overall timer runs out, in which you then get your high score. A nice thing about Taxi Chaos is the fact that there's an online leaderboard system that uploads your highest rating so that you can compete with others to see who is the king of Taxi Chaos. I'm ranked number 2 in the entire world right now in arcade mode, and no, it has nothing to do with the fact that not a lot of people are playing with this game. It's based solely on my skill, and my skills are high. Pro mode is structured the same way as arcade mode is, but there is one major difference. There's no navigation system, so you need to know where you're going as far as the destinations are concerned. I'm not gonna lie, this mode was extremely hard for me because you gotta remember where the destinations are. So you have to play the overall game quite a bit in order to learn where you need to go at the right time with the certain passenger in order to get them to that certain destination. However, I am currently number 1 in the world in pro mode, which of course makes me the king of pro mode. Free roam mode is exactly what you would think it is, in which you can drive through New Yellow City at your leisure to learn where things are and where destinations are while picking up people. I actually liked free roam a lot because it let me explore the city and figure out more shortcuts, including ones I hadn't really thought of beforehand. Now, when you're driving through New Yellow City, you see things that look like ramps, and I thought initially they were just sort of there for decoration, or in certain areas it made sense like you would jump through a building or something like that. However, when you're driving your taxi around, you can make the taxi jump. So I went off a ramp and jumped, and now I was driving on top of buildings, which obviously can help you cut down on your time and delivering people, which I thought was a really cool addition to the gameplay in this game. Besides the standard game, there are also achievements that you can unlock, and some of them are pretty interesting. When you pick up customers, there's usually some banter between the driver and them, but there are certain characters that you can pick up that are considered like special characters. These characters have a more in-depth story to tell, and when you bring them to your destination, they'll have you looking for certain collectibles that are sprinkled throughout the city. It's a nice little addition that makes you keep wanting to find all the different characters and the different things that they want you to find, and you want to explore the city more, as one of the unlockable cars actually requires you to find 25 various collectibles. I met some old rock star who wanted me to find hairspray. I mean, that's cool, 80s glam is back, baby. On the visual side of things, Taxi Chaos is a pretty bright and colorful looking game, and everything looks solid enough. Now there's some pop-up and whatnot as you are speeding around the city, but it's nothing too bad, and the frame rate is nice and smooth throughout. There's also some interesting buildings to look at as you're exploring the city as well. It honestly kind of reminds me of a 90s arcade racing game in terms of the graphics, which some people might not appreciate the same way I did, but for a budget title, it's definitely very solid. And yes, Taxi Chaos isn't a full $60 game or anything like that, it's a $30 game, so expectations should be kept in line with that in mind. Now, one thing I wasn't a huge fan of with Taxi Chaos was the audio, as I felt it was a bit of a mixed bag. Now, the voiceovers are good and pretty well done, if not a bit repetitive, and most of the passengers usually have something rather interesting to say, and everything sounds good in terms of sound effects from the vehicles and the city itself, but the music was definitely a little bit on the disappointing side. Now, I didn't expect Offspring or anything like that in this game, but it would have been nice to have some sort of music variety, as it's mostly just a looping techno track for the music in the game. But you can adjust the endgame music and turn it off and crank up some Offspring on Spotify or YouTube Music or whatever you kids use nowadays. Or you can go old school, download some music off of Napster. Overall, Taxi Chaos is a game that I miss that really used to be popular during the PS2 era, that sort of budget middleware game. Considering we're probably never getting a Crazy Taxi anytime soon, or maybe even ever again from Sega, Taxi Chaos does a good job of filling that need for being a taxi driver in video game form. It's the type of pick up and play game that you could sink a whole bunch of time into trying to be faster and climb up the leaderboards without even really realizing it. It's simple, it's fun, and considering it's only $30, it is a really solid value in my opinion. Now the real question is, can you take me down on the leaderboards? I mean, probably. Like, life isn't a competition. Why can't we all just get along? Alright, so that is a look at Taxi Chaos for the Nintendo Switch. Now, this game will be releasing on the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, and the Nintendo Switch on February 23rd, like I said at the start of the video, and it's a budget title at just $30. There's going to be a physical version along with the digital version, so if you're a physical collector, you'll probably want to pick this up, as I can't imagine it's going to be like a huge, massive release or anything like that, and it might end up being worth a pretty penny down the road when it comes to physical games. I'm probably going to double dip on this game and get the physical version, even though I have a copy of the digital version, just because I like this style of game. Not every game needs to be some huge AAA narrative. Sometimes you just want to pick up and play a game that's simple and fun and brings you back to a nostalgic era of gaming, and I think they really sort of did that with Taxi Chaos. It's not going to reinvent the genre or anything like that, but if it's not broke, why go ahead and fix it? Like, I want to pick up people, I want to take shortcuts, I want to deliver them to a place in a set amount of time, and I want to try to climb up the leaderboards. Not everything needs to be this huge, massive production with this AAA stuff. So Taxi Chaos, definitely a very fun time, and I think a game that a lot of people are going to enjoy. So let me know in the comments section down below if you have this game on your radar, if you'll be checking out the game when it comes out on February 23rd. I want to give a huge thank you to Taxi Chaos for sponsoring this video as well. You guys are awesome. I'll have some links to Taxi Chaos in the description box down below if you guys want to get some more information on it. And thank you guys for checking out this video. Like I said at the start, if you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Be sure to check out other videos on the channel as well, and as always, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Later. Yeah, 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 yeah.